Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Wednesday. It's January 15th, 2025. We have some new filings that we have to get into because the new filings are covering everything that's going on in Diddy. Oh, and I've got everything that's going on. Multiple tabs open. Sorry, y'all. That was me. Multiple tabs. Sorry for the echo. It is on my end. Look, y'all, I know all of you are like, look, we were trying to get our ducks in a row. Me too. I'm finishing up making an appointment to go get an x-ray of my foot because unfortunately the foot is footing. So I need to go get that x-ray today, which has definitely slowed me down substantially. And then I think probably sitting for like 5 hours yesterday to stream probably didn't help. So we are going to go x-ray the foot today, but that changes my plans a bit, I think, for members only. I don't want you guys to be waiting for when we might do a members only. So next week, we're going to do our members only as planned on Wednesday during the day, and then we will bump a members only back to the following week. So it's just a bummer. Satin VR host said, perfect timing. I just remembered about the stream. Look, it like your favorite band who says they start at 8. We're always allowing a grace period. I need a grace period. You need a grace period. We all need a grace period. I tried to not have this much of a grace period. Today's been kind of a mess. Hey there. Oh, it's broken. Caffeinated feline. I'm like, I am a little worried. I'm a little worried that it is not just swollen. So look, the only way we're going to know is if we go have it checked. So we're going to go have it checked. We're going to see, but I'm going to bump the members back. Cassia said, I thought I missed it. Nope. You're never going to miss it. Also, the streams are always so long that even when you remember them down the road, you're not going to miss it because we're always here. Emily, I dropped a ceramic spoon holder on toe. Only the nail suffer messed up the cute pedicure though. I'm hoping that that's it. What Fred is just yelling at me. It was a brass paperweight, so I'm hoping it's only the toe, but the problem is that so for those of you that missed part of yesterday's stream, I don't know where I mentioned it. It was like a 5-hour stream. I dropped a brass paperweight on my foot. Well, I didn't drop it. I was rearranging the shelves. They're not done yet. I was rearranging the shelves. I caused a avalanche of my little goodies back here, and it plummeted onto my toe, and I didn't have a shoe on because I had to take my shoe off to clean. It was a whole conspiracy of bad events. So the brass paperweight plummeted off of my shelves from this height onto my foot. So it's a pretty good brass paperweight. So I'm gonna go get it x-rayed just to get some answers. Look, it's a foot. You need them. It's helpful to have, or at least make a plan if it's not going to work. It's the same leg that I had ACL surgery on, and I know when I'm not able to walk well that it impacts my other side. I am not orthopedically the strongest human, so my system will get out of whack, and then my back will start to hurt if I am not walking smoothly. Because if I start dumping weight on, none of you need this information, but we're going to do it anyway. If I start moving my weight to the right side to take up for the left foot hurting, my back is going to get skewed. I don't do well. So get yourself something for the bruising. I've been putting arnica on it, but so far it's not gone away. So I need my foot to work, because otherwise I'm going to screw everything else up. So I figure I might as well just be an adult and go take care of it. There's a part of me that's just like, it'll be fine in a couple days, but there's another part of me that's like, but if I did damage it more than I think, and I don't do anything, then I'm not going to feel better in a few days. And then I've maybe made it worse, and I don't want to do that anyway. So it's Amica. It works miracles. It's supposed to heal my broken bones. The Real Deal said, when you use your body asymmetrically, then you usually make the other part sore that wasn't before. Yes, I'm very bad at that. I know. I accept that I'm going to lose the toenail. Do I mean Amica cream? I do. I mean Amica cream. Rotten Ralph said, ex-ballerina and yoga teacher, so many broken bones in the foot. And there are so many bones in the foot that I'm just like, you know what? We're just gonna go check it. We're just gonna go check it. My husband was just like, you should probably go check it. And then he messaged me, new year, new deductible, smiley face. And I'm like, So cheers. It's a delight. It's just a delight. It's a delight. It's going to be fine. Look, either way, we're going to figure it out. So either way we will. So let's see. Either way we will figure it out. But I've got my, it's got one of my hairs. I've got my super tanker of coffee. We're going to talk Diddy. That's not what I was trying to do. We're going to talk Diddy. We're going to go get the foot looked at. Tomorrow we will have another stream. Members, thank you for voting. I put up a poll in the Lawnerd Lounge and in the YouTube spaces to see what you guys, everybody voted Diddy. Everybody was like, Diddy, let's go. So Diddy, let's go. Let's go. So we're going to talk about Diddy today. We will talk about other things tomorrow. I always leave open when I am, especially now that we get to stream 3 days a week, I always leave open the possibility that shit will happen that we want to talk about. This was just filed on the 14th, so it seemed the most timely. So we're going to talk Diddy. If we get to other Diddy filings, we'll get to other Diddy filings. We're going to go, you know what, let's do the scheduling order first so we're all on the same page with Diddy. We'll do that. And then we will get into all the Diddy filings. My Diddy outline is looking like I'm in law school again, trying to keep track of what the pending motions are. So we still are pending that motion to suppress. They just finished the briefing. But let me roll the intro. Let's talk about the new motion regarding protective order and Diddy's lawyers throwing shade. And we'll talk about the timing of everything that's going to happen. And then I'll give you my opinion of what I really think is going to happen with the scheduling order. And we'll just do all of the things. We're not going to do 5 hours of all of the things today. Can't do that today. Tomorrow's a new day. Can't do that today. So let me know where you're coming in from, what you're drinking. I got all the things. Jessica Pinky Mingo in the chat said, I struggled, but I voted Diddy. You guys know when I give you a choice of 3, we're going to get to all of them. It's just in what order. So cheers, law nerds. Good to see you. Let's go.
Hey there. I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst, breaking down the legal side of the pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. I'm a big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years, but this is not legal advice. This is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not. Let's get into it.
Law nerds, it's good to see you. Thank you for all of your lovely messages. Debbie R said, I hope your toe isn't broken. Me too. I broke my pinky toe 3 times. Bummer. I'm still healing from a broken ankle. Also a bummer. Tomorrow I get to see how the ankle is healing after I have no idea, tremoliar, maybe fracture. I am sorry. I hope so too. But at this point, I feel like I should just double check it and get an answer and then see how we do. But my feet on the new desk has a bar across the back, so I can put my feet up a little bit on the bar, which is great. And that's what we are going to do. So let me pull up where did it go? Let me give a road so far and pull up the scheduling order. The way my outline is becoming a full ass law school outline to talk to y'all about Diddy is just wild. Professor Keen said, can we see the injury? No. No, I try my best to keep my feet off the internet. Also, it's a swollen toe that's black and blue. It's not horribly swollen, but it is a swollen toe that is black and blue. So let's do a bit of a how we got here, what's still pending, and then just get into the scheduling order and then get into the protective order or the Diddy's attorneys wanting to modify the protective order. They have a lot to say. They have a lot to say. All right. What's going on with Diddy? We're only talking about the criminal indictment today because there is so much going on with Diddy. The court has made a couple of orders. There have been a lot of filings since the holidays. What is largely pending is Diddy's motion to suppress. That motion is like to suppress plus, 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 plus. Like, we want to suppress everything taken from his jail cell, but then we want to suppress anything you got after that. But then we also want to disqualify all the prosecutors. But then. That mega motion to suppress all the briefing is done. If we want to go over that more thoroughly a different day, I did an overview on it on QuickBits, and we've done an overview on it here. But if we want to go into every single line of all of that briefing, we can do that, just not today. So the motion to suppress is still pending. The court asked for more information from the government, which is interesting. The court's like, I'm going to need more information, and I'm going to need you to put it all in the record later this week, and it's going to all be reviewed in camera. So those will probably be sealed when they're filed. If they're not, we're going to go through it all. Like, if they're not sealed. Ooh. But when the judge says for in-camera review, it means the judge is going to review it in chambers. We probably won't see it because it's going to deal with how Diddy's jail cell was searched. We're still talking about the legal notepads. Did it say legal? Did it not say legal? Did it use all the legal? We don't know. Did the legal get written onto the notepad afterwards? Seems so. Did the judge get spicy about that? Sure did. So they are still fighting over what happens from the search with the MDC. Remember, the government says that search was pre-planned. It was regarding contraband. They say the search targeted multiple locations, and Diddy just happened to be arrested and housed there in the meantime. And so, yes, as they were searching everything, Diddy's things were searched, and some of that information was turned over to the government. They turned it over to their taint team or their privileged team or whatever. They turned it over to their taint team to take a look at whether or not there was anything in there that was witness intimidation, etc. The government then turned around and used that in their bail motion. And Diddy's team was like, A, you shouldn't be able to use it. B, you shouldn't even have it. C, it's all attorney-client privilege. D, it's work product. E, all of the above. F, yourself. And G, Your Honor, suppress it and remove the prosecution. That's what the defense said. Those motions are still pending. So that has not been heard yet. That has not gone to court yet. For all of you that are going to ask, no, it's not going to be televised. The best we have is the reporters in court that are sharing what's going on in court. I think Inner City Press is the best at that for New York courts. I have not found another account that does what Inner City Press does. I don't know if they have a Substack. I know that they are on X, but it is Inner City Press covering everything that happens in court, and they really just cover what's happening in court. The judge said this, the attorney said this, and it's just this is what happened. I love it. And sometimes when they put in context, they just put it in parentheses. Love it. Oh, Kelly C said they're also on Threads. Thank you, Kelly C. They're probably, I would imagine Inner City Press is everywhere. They do incredible work. If they have a Substack, I need to go find it and subscribe to support them. They do great work. But what I love is it's literally just this. Thank you. It shouldn't be so hard to find someone that just says, this happened. This attorney said this. That attorney said that. Wow. But it is. So they break down just what happens in court. Love the account. Love following. So that's going to come for hearing. The briefing just finished, but the government still has to turn over what the judge asked for. If we get there, we will see when we get to the rest of this, if we want to go through the judge's specific order, we can. But what we're going to look at today is a new letter filing. New York does this. New York is New York. And the defense is asking for a modification of protection order, and we're going to look at why. But first, But wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. We're going to go to the scheduling order first. And let's see. If I share the tab, will it just go full screen? Maybe. No. It's actually worse that way. I've been fighting with StreamYard. Don't worry. We are working on our own solution, but I've been fighting with StreamYard just nonstop, which was part of what was going on this morning. Is StreamYard's like, oh, by the way, you can't go live until you clear up some space. I'm terrible at digital clutter. And so that was a delight. A delight. And I was like, oh, my bad. So that's a project for later today. When I am, figuring out what's going on with my foot. All right. January 8th. January 8th. This is the order from the court regarding scheduling in advance of Diddy's May 5th, 2025 trial date. Do I think that trial date's going to go? No. Mm-mm. 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 I don't think that trial date's going to happen. I will be shocked if that trial date happens. I can't express to you the shock. I will be shooketh if this trial starts trial May 5th. Why haven't the defense waived time yet? Well, it is in the defense best interest to keep this date on calendar as long as they can to push the government to turn over everything they have to turn over. And then when we get down to like the last crack, I think the defense is going to say this. Just somebody timestamp it for later. I think the defense will say this. But Your Honor, it took the government so long to turn over everything that there is no possible way we can be ready for trial. And the court should hold that against the government and dismiss the case. But if the court refuses to hold the government responsible for taking so long to turn over all of this discovery, how can we possibly vet this amount of discovery? Your Honor, you shouldn't let them use all of this. You should keep it out of the trial. Oh, you're not going to do that? Okay, then we're going to need a continuance. So they are going to complain about the government. They are going to then ask for it to be dismissed. They are going to then ask to block the discovery because it's too much for them to review. And then when that doesn't work, they're going to continue it. That is what is going to happen in some level. All of that. And a number of you in the chat have said Inner City Press is also on Blue Sky. There you go. Anywhere you can find a threading text-based app, Inner City Press is there. So I think we're going to get all the way into April and then they're going to blink and say there's no way we can be ready. There's no way the defense is going to be ready on this case. There's just no way. But maybe they are. Who knows? Maybe Diddy remembers every single thing that's ever happened in his entire life and has a photographic memory and is like, this is what is here. This is what is there. Who knows? Maybe. Doubt it, but maybe. But it benefits them to force the government to adhere to these dates because they'll get things turned over and the government can't say, oh, but the trial date's not till XYZ. I don't think that's a bad strategy. But I don't think we're going to trial May 5th. I don't think that's happening. So the judges set pretrial motions to start in February. So all of their pretrial motions, February 17th, ops March 3rd, replies March 10th. The enterprise letter, February 1st, we'll cover it when it comes out. When that's filed, we'll cover it. The government will have to give over a bit more information. Expert notices from the government, the defense, and rebuttals. The defense is going to be like, hey, until we are finished with what the motions are, we don't necessarily know what experts we need. That's why that is a little bit after the pretrial motions. Then we've got our notice date for Rule 404B, 413, character, the rest of it. Motions in limine, April. Then we've got the rest of production and designation. Attorney eyes only. The court being like, You all won't get to see that. Just know. Witnessed and exhibitee lists, and then jury questionnaires and voir dire. So the court has set a move it timeline. We'll see. So that is the scheduling order. Let's get to the protective order, and then if we have time, we can get into some of the other stuff the judge has ruled. Lone Star Living, I don't think he does. I'm just saying, are there hypothetical possibilities in the universe where Diddy maybe doesn't need to review all the video that the government has because somehow he can assist his lawyers without reviewing it? I don't know, maybe. So let's pull that up and go through their request to change the protective order because they aren't happy. And some of it is our favorite thing, redacted. Yes, it is. Bowler Cat said there's a new Diddy documentary on Peacock. Well, we'll get to it after Traders. I'll take a look. 1234 said, is this going to be a jury trial? Yes. This is going to be a jury trial. This will be a jury trial. It will not be a televised jury trial, but it will absolutely be a jury trial. All right. Leonard friends, let's get into letter filings. Emily, why do you hate letter filings so much? A, they're weird. They're not weird. I shouldn't call them weird. Sorry, letter filings. No offense. They're just different from the way that I'm used to practicing. But the real reason I hate them is because they're not on lined paper and they're single spaced. That's why I hate them. They're not on lined paper and they're single spaced. I hate it. So, from the defense, this is from yesterday, January 14th, 2025. I saw rumblings of this after I finished streaming. Alina in the chat asked, why won't it be televised? Federal court, federal judge rules. Federal judges are just like, nah. So they don't allow video. Occasionally they will have audio, but it is incredibly rare, and that's call-in, not streamed audio. It's really frustrating. Why do they use letter filings versus other kind of filings? I have no idea why the rules of court in New York, federal court, have letter filings. It is probably a very old practice that was kept. So I don't know. I don't know the legal history of it. There is probably a fine legal history of it, but it's strange. It's strange. It's just different to me. But it also, this is a motion. But it's a letter filing to the court before there's a motion to see if it can resolve before there's motion practice. It might be, I need to ask a New York attorney, maybe judicial economy. Like if we don't need to go through the full motion opposition reply and then all the notice periods to go to the court, if we letter file it and the court says yes, no, maybe we cut down motion practice to streamline things, and then things that need to go to motion practice do. And when we get to the end of this, they're asking for a change in protective order. Does that need full motion briefing? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the court can go, yeah, that's a reasonable modification. We don't need a full motion briefing. And attorneys aren't in front of the court in federal court as much as they are in state court. So it's not like the attorneys can just walk into court and be like, hey, Your Honor, can we just change this one order? It might be a judicial economy. It might be an old habit kept from whenever. It might be a combination of both. So Steph said the law does cling to traditions. Oh, yes. The fact that people don't wear wigs in U.S. courts is still a little bit surprising to me. The law and the lawyers love tradition. I was talking to Judge Abby this morning. I swear we're getting to this motion. I was talking to Judge Abby this morning, and she was talking about whether something was recent enough in our conversation. And I said, well, friend, we're talking about the law. And attorneys still cite law from the 1800s. So something from 6 months ago in context is incredibly recent. It's actually like basically yesterday, because when we see new case law cited, it's being cited from like 2000. And for us, damn it, for us that started going to law school in the early 2000s, that feels like contemporary. But it's like 20 years ago. So, you know, we're coming up on me graduating from law school 20 years ago. But jurisprudence from the last 20 years is new. That's recent. Jurisprudence from 1807 starts to feel old. When we get to the Magna Carta, it's like, So when I was saying 6 months ago is recent, when we're talking about law, we're just in law. I just realized I didn't put any of my rings back on except for my Aura ring after I lotioned my hands. I was like, why does my hand feel weird? Because I don't have my rings on. I'm unbalanced today, clearly, between my foot and my rings. We are not well balanced. Kate Manning in the chat said, objection, 1998 was 10 years ago. This math isn't possible. I am bad at math, Kate, and I'm going to adopt your math because yes, the 90s were like 10 years ago. Yes, the 90s were 10 years ago. Exactly. I agree with all of you. I agree. And because I know a lot of you are going to have the same question in the chat, just because will they have to test all that baby oil? Also, when we are working on our new streaming system, I want to be able to pull these up on screen with the actual emoji, not the name of the emoji. It's on my wish list of desires. So will they have to test all that baby oil? Only if they're going to use it. They'll probably test some about it. So January 14th, 2025. We should probably swoop because now we're actually starting discussion of this document. You guys also, can we just take a minute for like, we're swooping because we're talking about the document, immediate sidebar. We're 27 minutes into the show and we're to the main document. Some days it works that way. Some days it doesn't. All right, January 14th, 2025. This is from the defense to Judge Subramanian. Dear Judge, we write on behalf of our client Sean Combs to request a modification of the terms of the protective order docket 26 to require the government to electronically produce videos described in paragraphs 12A and 12C of the indictment, footnote 1. Should we go to paragraphs 12A and 12C of the indictment? I feel like referencing the materials would be helpful. Also, when we talk about split screens as a lawyer and like, do lawyers need multiple screens? Yes, because if I was reading this to take notes, I would have the indictment up on one screen, this up on another screen, and somewhere to take notes, and then something playing in the background, because I feel like what we need is to just grab the indictment as well and then go directly to what they are citing. I think that that's going to be the most helpful. So let me grab the indictment real quick because, because they cited to it and we have time. We have time to do that. All right. What did they say? Paragraphs 12A and 12C. So let's get us to paragraphs 12A and 12C. Shall we? Let's see. This is the entirety of the indictment, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Purpose of the Combs enterprise is the subheading we are at. Means and methods of enterprise, 12. Among the means and methods by which Sean Combs, aka, so many freaking AKAs, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Diddy, PD, and Love. I mean, I guess in the chat we can always see where we were in pop culture by how you remember Sean Combs before all of this. Was it Puffy? Was it Diddy? Was it P. Diddy? Which was it? I'm surprised Puffy's not in there, by the way. Which Puffy is your Puffy? Because, well, none of them are ours anymore. All of it's like F you. But was it Diddy, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Puffy? No one is saying love. Yeah, Puffy. Oh, me too. Right. So I'm seeing lots of Puffies, lots of Puff Daddies, and some P. Diddies. Right. Exactly. The more you know. So 12A, Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise wield the power and prestige of Combs's role at the Combs enterprise business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs's orbit under the pretense of a romantic relationship. I mean, I think and or career. Both. Combs then used force, threats of force, coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. Freak-offs were elaborate and produced performances of that nature that Combs arranged, directed, pleasured himself to, and electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the assistance of members and associates of the enterprise, caused to be transported sex workers across state lines and internationally. These freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasting multiple days, and involved multiple participants and victims. So that is 12A. This is 12B. Remember, they say electronically recorded. I know it got dark early. Apologies. I should have given a warning that we were going to talk about the freak-offs because we're not going to get into more detail than that, I hope. I don't think we have to, but I hope we don't. We'll go through the letter soon. They go on to talk about members and associates of the business, including supervisors, security staff, household staff. Another day, we're getting to the security guard defamation lawsuit. Do not worry, we'll get there. Is there a defamation lawsuit? Is there always a sidecar of defamation lawsuit? Yes. And there's one here too. We're going to get to it a different day. Today's not the day, but there's a sidecar defamation lawsuit, just like in the Idaho case. So he's saying the government is alleging that others that worked for Combs, business employees, personal assistants, household staff, etc., facilitated these things. I can't imagine asking a personal assistant for any of these things. There are times when I travel, and I travel with my business right hand, who's also one of my oldest and dearest friends. And there are times she's like, "Do you need breakfast?" I'm like, "I can do it." And she's like, "You need to finish your makeup or you're going to be late. Can I please just do that?" I can't, I'm uncomfortable asking people for things I actually need. Can you imagine asking people to arrange excuse me, what I'm going to need is a large hotel room, IV fluids, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, lighting. And then I'm going to need you to rearrange the room for a better angle. What? Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't. There's times when I order things without something I'm allergic to, and it shows up with the thing I am allergic to, tomatoes being one of them. I'm just like, it's fine. I can just take it off. Like, I don't even want to ask to fix it. What? Anyway, so he's asking his household staff, personal assistants, security staff, supervisors, and everybody else that probably thought they were working for a record label to do all this shit. It reminds me a lot of the Matthew Perry case that we've looked at with how are you asking the people around you to do these things? Like what? Like what? For all of you that are like asking for help is hard, it is. It is. And it's not too much to ask for help. But Diddy out here being like, I'm going to need more baby oil, more lube, more linens, and a ring light. And I'm out here like, it's fine. I'll just take it off. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Ariane, I hope I got that right. Said I'm allergic to pineapple, and someone bought me a cake with it. I still ate it. I still ate around it quietly. Yep. I'm also allergic to pineapple. Which is a huge freaking bummer. But it is not a good feeling. The allergic to pineapple is different than my allergic to tomatoes. This Emily, do we need to go down the rabbit hole of you being a snowflake with food? No, but pineapple is the one that like makes my gums like swell and my whole mouth hurt like it is on fire. It is the worst, and I love pineapple. It is so, oh, it makes me so mad. And every now and then I'm like, I can do it, bitch. No, you can't. But every now and then I'm like, fresh pineapple, and then my mouth is like, I still try it. I still try it. I still try it. I had no idea why I had some of the issues I had growing up. And you know why? It's because I am allergic to tomatoes. And I live and grew up with a very Italian family. Why does my stomach always hurt? I don't know. Weird. Growing up in the 90s, being on swim team was like this. Hey guys, do you know what athletic nutrition looks like? Eat pasta. We had pasta parties before big swim meets. We did all of the carb loading. It was always pasta. And I'm always like, my gut is killing me. I do not feel all right ever. Why? Because everything I did revolved around eating tomato. Our family had lasagna for family holidays. And then the night before, whatever the holiday was, the night before the holiday meals were regularly lasagna. The night before the holiday meal was always homemade tamales, because also California. So at least a lot of the time we could do the tamales without tomato, but goddamn. It was just. So yes. And then between the chlorine and the tomatoes, I was just always not well. What would life have been like if I had known I was allergic to a ton of shit? I don't know. They're just like, maybe it's in your head. So, it'll be fine. It's better now. All right. We've digressed from me being allergic to stuff. This is why a lot of you subscribe to the Quick Bits. We cut all the side quests out, but I'm just so disturbed by all of this. I've completely disassociated to talking about allergies. I just hate all of it. I hate that the people working for him did this. I hate that he's asking people to do this. I hate that he's doing this. I hate everything about this. And then cleaning the hotel rooms and the rest of it to try to mitigate room damage, arrange for travel for victims, for sex workers, for resupplying, delivering large sums of cash, delivering IV fluids. Look, no shade to IV fluids, but these are being used as a weapon. The IV fluids are being used to revive people so they can continue doing whatever Diddy wants them to do. That's not what. In or about March 2024, during searches of Combs' residences in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 babies. Bottles. Damn it. 1,000 babies of body. 1,000 bottles of baby oil. I did not say 1,000 babies. I did not mean it. 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Ugh. Streaming is dynamic. 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Emily, why do you always pull documents up on the screen? So people can see when I have misread, because it is going to happen. Would misread be my drag name? Maybe. If it wasn't like a dyslexia with like DYSS. So these are the two subsections. I do not see 12B describing videos. Did he say 12A and B or 12B and C or A and C? Let's see. 12A and 12C. Okay, I was going to say there's no videos described in 12B. 12C. Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, verbal abuse to cause them to engage in these freak-offs. He maintained control over the victims through, among other things, physical violence, promises of career opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and other coercive means, including tracking their whereabouts, dictating their appearance, monitoring their medical records, controlling their housing, supplying them with controlled substances, which is incredibly common. Oh my God. I love this. I love this. I love this so much. I love this too, PK. So that the controlled substances is the coercive control. Yes, the controlled substances. I don't think I've seen a trafficking case without controlled substances involved. And Southern California had, even before I left, their trafficking was a large problem and a growing problem. So yeah, they're just lining out like how trafficking works in those allegations in the indictment. During and separate from those freak-offs, Combs, among other things, this is just lining out all the physical abuse. Where are the digital? Threaten their careers and livelihoods. Victims believe they could not refuse his demands without risking their financial, job security, or without repercussions in the form of physical or emotional abuse. That should probably be an and or. Combs also used sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating recordings. There's the recordings. This is the part of the recordings that I suspected when we started hearing about what he was recording. This is all blackmail. Nishay, good to see you. This is a great question. How did he get people's medical records? I imagine he would make them sign that they were allowed to be released to him because he was paying. I imagine he would be like, I'll pay. You need to sign the release to allow me to have them. So I imagine that's what was happening. Just because points out that Cat Williams told everybody, Diddy loves to party and you have to tell him no. I mean, I think we've all seen that clip. So these videos that are being discussed in 12C are using the videos as collateral to ensure obedience and silence the victims. You know, blackmail. We've got it on video. We'll release the video. Which is why I wonder how many people are on those videos that he had leverage over. It's those videos, I think there's probably a separate purpose, but I think the primary purpose of those videos was leverage. That's my opinion, based on everything we've seen. I think leverage and power was the big part of that. So the defense is saying we need those videos that you say were taken from where? Miami, Los Angeles. There was another one. I'm glad they got the videos before everything else. I don't know if the house that Diddy had in LA is still standing or not, but you know, it's in that area. So let's see. Where did we search to get the videos? Because now I'm stuck on the fact that I forgot there were 3 places. Miami, Florida, Los Angeles. Was it New York? There was another one. Am I seeing it right off the top? No, I'm not. But it was taken from 3 locations. Those are the videos that they are talking about. All of the freak off videos. Let's get back to what they're asking for. They want the government to electronically produce videos described in paragraph 12A and 12C of the indictment. Footnote 1. The protective order requires the parties. That was not. I think it was New York. Thanks, Chad. The protective order requires the parties to meet and confer regarding any dispute over the government's designations, after which the defense may seek de-designation by the court. Docket 2610. We have conferred with the government counsel who oppose this request. I feel like when we finish this chat, we might just need to go to the original protective order and see. This is not uncommon in cases involving sensitive video that the sensitive video is not turned over. That is the regular practice. The sensitive video is not turned over. They make arrangements for the defense to view them at wherever law enforcement is. So it's generally that those videos are not given to the defense's discovery. The defense has to go to the videos. This happens in cases involving victims that are minors. This happens in cases of any type of sensitive nature with the video. And that is something that prosecutors, I think, should continue to fight over and do fight over, because the last thing that any victim would want is the fear that when the defense attorney or defendant has those videos, that somehow they end up out in the broader public, especially with everything being digital. And it is not uncommon in cases, particularly cases where abuse and sexual abuse is involved, where people know each other ongoing, that you see defendants go pro per or represent themselves to have access to all that discovery. And you watch that abuse continue to play out. And we've seen that in cases like Daryl Brooks. I still believe my opinion. No, damn it. Emily, wrong button. I'm getting trolled by my own soundboard. Emily, it's like, go back to the document, girl. I think the main reason Daryl Brooks represented himself is because he wanted to cross-examine his abuse victim, the mother of his one of his children. That's why he wanted to be pro per. He wanted to be pro per for that cross-examination, so he would have that position of power to stand in the courtroom and stare her down. I have seen adults do this in child abuse cases, and it is the jury reads it immediately. The jury's like, this is disgusting. But you see it frequently where people choose to represent themselves when they know their victim will be on the stand, and they think that they can intimidate and continue to intimidate their victim. So there are a lot of reasons that prosecutors fight over not turning this over. This is not a Brady issue. This is not a problem. They make those videos available to review with law enforcement, and the laws support that. So for those of you that did not know that happened, I am sorry. This is one of those things that happens quite frequently. And when I see somebody go pro per, depending on the case, it's one of the first things I look at is who is going to be testifying, and is there a victim that's going to be testifying. Kareem V said that's awful. It shouldn't be allowed. In some areas, it's not allowed. In the US, it is allowed. The constitutional rights that we have allow the defendant to make these choices. But is it awful? Yes. Is it uncomfortable to watch? Yes. Does the jury clock it absolutely immediately? Yes. The jury clocks it immediately, but people cannot help themselves. I had a case with a pro per defendant. It was not a relational case at all, but the defendant wanted to be pro per because the defendant was like, no one can explain this the way I can explain this. So it wasn't the same situation. But when the victim went to testify, it was still incredibly uncomfortable to watch them go back and forth. What I appreciated is that the victim in that case was so pissed that they would not be intimidated. The victim is like, oh no, oh, what you're not doing. And so the defendant would stand up. Emily, are we telling work stories? Yes. The defendant would stand up there to cross-examine the victim and say, why did you say the defendant stabbed you? And the victim looked dead ass at the defendant and went, because I saw your face when you stabbed me. And I was just like, I mean, you can't sit there and applaud, but I was just like, the way I was struggling with my face, because I was just like, Like if I was watching that back, doing what I do now, I'd be like, get him, get him, get him. He was just like, because he would not give an inch. Everyone that testified in that case, the defendant would try to say, why do you say the defendant this in third person? And everyone who testified said, you. Every single witness reset to, you did this. You did that. They would not play this, oh, the defendant did this, the defendant did that. They're like, let's talk about who it is. It's you. The jury was out for 15 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. I think that case lasted all of like a day. Like we started jury selection in the afternoon, and the next day the jury had a verdict by lunch. It was only a couple of witnesses. It was very, very quick. I think the jury went back to the jury box or went back to the jury room, went to the bathroom and had a snack and said hello and then came back out. But we were done we started picking a jury at like 1:30, and then they had a verdict before noon the next day. So it was fast. The witnesses were fast. It was a pretty simple fact pattern, sad case, but the defendant was pro per. And the victim was not having it. But we see a lot of pro pers do this. So we see a lot of pro pers do this. Marco said, I thought this was about Diddy. It is. Inextricably. Because right now we're talking about why the government doesn't have to just give them digital videos. And I think that's an important thing to understand. Carly said, will Diddy be able to do that? I don't see Diddy going pro per. I think Diddy is smart enough to not try that. But when we talk about why the defense is demanding that these videos get turned over to them and why the government's not going to do it, that's why. Lori said, I'm confused. Can someone go pro per for only parts of trials? No. The parts where they want to question witnesses and then the lawyer takes over? No, they're not supposed to. Some cases allow standby counsel, but once standby counsel comes in, that's done. But a lot of courts will not let you go back and forth. You are representing yourself or you are not. Beetlejuice said, I get it, Emily. We need sidebars. We do. He's Brandy Carr. Yes, he's going to end up paying tens of millions, I would imagine, at the end of all of this. So, Tessa said, what's the difference between pro per and pro se? It depends on the jurisdiction. It's interchangeable, whether it's in pro per persona. I forget what pro se is shortened, but it just depends how they say it. Thank you, Trish. So it really depends on the jurisdiction. Same. So there is a reason. And I think also we talked so much about the government not turning shit over yesterday for like 5 hours. I think it's important to explain when the government doesn't have to turn them over like physically and can make them available and that still be okay. They go on to say the protective order includes a novel provision, not about books. We're not about books, Emily. No. Not about books. The protective order includes a novel provision making this video evidence available for inspection only and not electronically produced. There is nothing fucking novel about that. If you have a video of a sensitive nature regarding a victim, and by sensitive, I mean explicit, not videos of a crime scene sensitive, those are not turned over. There's nothing novel. There's nothing unique. There's nothing different that happens in any case with this type of video. Crime scene photos get turned over. Autopsies get turned over. But sexually explicit, sensitive videos of a victim? No. Like in the Duggar case, did the defense get all the videos taken off of Duggar's computer? No. Do the defense attorneys want it? Also no. They can go to the police station and view it. Oftentimes, the Prosecution also does not have these videos on their computers. Oftentimes, and I can't say for every single case, and I can't say how the feds do it, but oftentimes these videos, the prosecution also does not have. They are kept only by law enforcement, and you have to go in and review them. That's not uncommon, particularly when we are dealing with sensitive material of children. But any sensitive material that can happen. Because again, no one wants those videos to get out. I think most prosecutors, myself included, feel awful when juries have to see them. Like it's not, prosecutors never want to show these videos to juries. They have to get the convictions for the laws that are violated, but nobody wants to. And when you see cases of a sensitive nature, whether you are dealing with videos involving children or sexually explicit videos of victims, and you see those cases sometimes plea or resolve, and you're like, why would they do that? Part of it is this. Part of it is this. So this is not a novel fucking provision, miss me. Going on, they say, having reviewed these videos, it is now abundantly clear. Oh, so you were able to go review the videos. I mean, it's inconvenient, but no one should have this on their computer. Having reviewed these videos, it is now abundantly clear that they confirm Mr. Combs's innocence. Okay. We're going to get into their explanation of this. Tony, good to see you in the chat. Question, would they potentially blur faces before they show videos to the jury? Generally not. In cases with specific victims, the jury needs to be able to identify the victim in the video. I don't want to go down this road too, Tony, this is me telling myself, not me telling you. I don't want to go down this road too much, but in cases involving videos with those that are underage, the jury also needs to be able to perceive the age. So those are not always blurred either, but it can depend on the kid. It can depend on the court. It can depend on the circumstances, but that can also create an appellate issue because the evidence has to be evaluated by the jury depending on what the type of case is. For possession of materials that you aren't allowed to possess, the jury has to review it. And the core part of the case is, are these actually materials that you can't possess? So no. Lindsay's reading ahead. Even if you're not reading ahead, Lindsay, you have read the room properly. Lindsay D in the chat said, who wants to bet his explanation is it was consensual? His lawyers have said that since the first fucking day. Stormy Sky says, my heart goes out to all the investigators and anyone involved in researching and prosecuting these crimes. Yes. That is, if you followed my coverage of the Duggar case with Josh Duggar, during the bail hearing, the investigator's like, I've been doing this for X amount of years. I'm like, ooh. And he's like, and this is some of the worst I've seen. I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh. It sucks. But I have lots of thoughts on how jobs should support people in these positions. We covered this a little bit with TikTok and Facebook, I think, where the moderators on the teams that have to take this information off the internet. Look, I think it's different when you go into law enforcement, when you go into being a prosecutor, you are aware that this is something that can become part of your work. I think sometimes when people go into content moderation, they're like, oh, we're going to be able to stop people from being racist assholes, or, oh, we're going to stop people from being homophobic or transphobic. We're going to be able to make the internet maybe just a little bit of a better place when people go into content moderation. I don't know if they think that most of what their day is going to be is taking down videos of the most horrific things people can do to each other, to animals, to children, whatever. So there are numerous lawsuits that I need to double back on. It's been like 2 years now since the content moderation lawsuits I covered, but the content moderation teams were suing for the lack of support they were getting in the work they were doing, which was reviewing videos that are awful to make sure they are taken off of platforms. I don't think you sign up for that job saying, I might end up here, where in other jobs, when you opt in, you know that that's potentially on the table and there's just not enough support. So the content moderators of multiple platforms were suing because their jobs don't support them. Do I think there should be more support in all of this? Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But do I think if people are better, then we're all better together? Yes. Support people so they can be better. This world is wild. I won't diatribe any longer. Y'all know where I'm at with that. Defense says, having reviewed these videos, it is now abundantly clear that they confirm Combs's innocence and that their full exculpatory value cannot be investigated and used unless they are electronically produced. Rule 16A1E expressly requires production of copies of such materials to the defense, and there is no plausible good cause to restrict access to them under Rule 16D1. Accordingly, they should be produced in the normal course so that the defense may evaluate and use them in the same manner as other Rule 16 Brady materials. No. 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 No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Radio Mommy, Radio Me, thank you for the work that you do, because yes, Radio Me said, I think I got that right. If I didn't, I apologize. Said, as a child abuse investigator, there are things I have seen that I won't ever share. Yes. There are a few jobs where you're just like, I don't even want to tell my therapist about what happened at work today. That's one of them. You're like, I'm going to traumatize my therapist. That I'm going to just keep that to myself. It's where those bonds of colleagues come in, where you only tell the people that you work with because they're already in the same place that you are. But I get it. There are lots of jobs that are in that realm. And for all of you doing that work, it is important. And I'm sorry for the cost it takes to you. There is always a cost. So Diddy's lawyers want the videos, right? Diddy's lawyers are like, give us a hard drive of all the videos. But what are we learning now? That there are 9 videos at issue. Let me know, chat. That is lower than I would have thought. However, I appreciate the government's restraint because I'm sure they have a lot more videos. But it seems like there are 9 targeted videos. Let's see what the defense has to say about them. The 9 videos at issue are the so-called quote-unquote freak-off tapes with victim 1 that the government has repeatedly referenced, causing wild speculation in the media. Contrary to what the government has led this court and the public to believe, these so-called freak-offs were private sexual activity between fully consenting adults in a long-term relationship. They have said this since the defense has said this since the beginning. We know who victim 1 is. We read her civil lawsuit. I mean, we read most of her civil lawsuit. There were parts of it that were awful. But that's not what she said was the circumstance. And if they're going to try to do this at trial, it's going to be wild. So Diddy is saying that the videos that the government has indicated that they will be using at trial are private sexual activity between fully consenting adults in a long-term relationship. They say, I mean, you guys let me know. Do you think this is filed just for the public? They say, like many Americans, in the privacy of their own bedrooms, they sometimes filmed their sexual activity. These videos unambiguously show that the person alleged in the indictment to be victim one not only consented, but thoroughly enjoyed herself. They wrote that. It's like a Weinstein defense. This is what Weinstein argued in his LA trial. And then it's redacted. I'm sure what's redacted is worse than what's not redacted in what they're arguing. But are you fucking joking? But that is the argument that Weinstein's attorneys made in the California trial too. For all of you saying, this is a bizarre thing to put in a pleading. Is it for the pleading? Does the court need to know that? Does that mitigate any of this? But for any of you that are like, why would people not necessarily want to go through this court process when things have been done to them? This is why. This is why. This is why. This is why. Because these are the arguments. And these are the arguments that are going to get made. The tipping point I see in these arguments is that juries are responding more and more the way the chat has responded. Juries are responding the same way you did with, ew, what? So they go on to say, these recordings corroborate what witnesses have told the government, namely that victim one redacted. These recordings also directly refute the allegations that Mr. Combs kept these videos as quote unquote collateral. How? How do the videos refute that these were kept as collateral? These recordings were not on Mr. Combs's devices and were not seized from his homes. Oh, really? How do you know? They say rather victim one kept these videos on her own device for years and produced them to the government. I have questions. I have questions. I have questions. I have questions. I have lots of questions. It goes on to say, moreover, and I'm waiting for the government response to all of this, because there are things that Diddy's lawyers have written and the government's like, yeah, no. So I'm waiting to see the government response on this. I have questions about that. Not to mention, even if, assuming arguendo that that's true, A, there is nothing wrong with her keeping the videos of things that happened to her if somebody else had them. There's nothing improper with that. But am I to believe that there are not also videos in the thousands of videos, that is hyperbole, in the, let's see, terabytes of data, including videos, that is accurate, in the terabytes of data, including videos that the government recovered? Am I to believe that those things don't exist in more than one place? Because if I'm the government, how petty are we going to be in responding to this? Like, if you're the government, do you say, well, the victim had these, if that's true, and let's talk about what else we recovered. If I'm the government, is that what I'm putting in a response? Mr. Bloodworth would. Bloodworth in Utah would be like, well, let me tell you what. The government has a fine line to walk in how petty they are, because there are individuals to protect in this. So I think there's a way to be petty and still protective. And that is, at this point, I'm ready to see it. They go on to say, moreover, contrary to innumerable sensationalistic media reports, and multiple civil lawsuits. Like when I talk about the civil lawsuits, I am mostly relying on the civil lawsuits that happened before the criminal complaint. And we saw quite a lot described in the civil lawsuits before this complaint, before Busby and Spyro decided that they were going to turn court into like the Octagon and all the rest of it. Before that, we saw incredibly similar, detailed civil lawsuits from multiple people that identified themselves as victims and said, this is what happened to me. So take that as you will. Call me Petty LaBelle because it's going down. Yep. The defense goes on to say, moreover, sorry, we gotta move the foot. Contrary to innumerable sensationalistic media reports, the videos do not depict sex parties. There are no secret cameras, no orgies, no other celebrities involved, no underground tunnels. Was that a thing? No minors, and not so much as a hint of coercion or violence. I mean, they did include the video from the Intercontinental. That's not a hint of violence. That's just violence. That's just assault. So I think they're parsing quite a lot. Far from the government's lurid descriptions. I've not seen the government make lurid descriptions. I've seen them make fairly broad allegations. The videos show adults having consensual sex, plain and simple. I don't know if there's anything plain and simple with any of this. Is this really how you want to phrase this next sentence? I guess it is. They say at bottom, this case is about whether victim 1 was or was not a willing participant in her private sex life with Mr. Combs. The videos confirm that she plainly was. This has been their argument since the beginning. So the Lauren said, aren't they also saying that Combs killed Tupac? The government here isn't saying that, but Keefe D has said that. And in my podcast episodes about Keefe D, we've talked about the allegations Keefe D made in his book. So, Rampage in the chat said, wasn't he accused of drugging people? Yes. The use of narcotics and illegal substances to make people compliant is a prevailing allegation in all of this. Curiously, Courtney said, this is really what they're arguing. Yes, this is what they're going to argue in court too. This is what they're going to argue in court too. And this is not surprising based on how they've argued before. And it's not surprising based on that this is the arguments made repeatedly. Mimi said, what's their argument about other victims? They're not arguing about other victims. The government's only named victim 1 at this point. So. And the using narcotics to ensure compliance is part of why this was charged as trafficking. Background. Soon after Mr. Combs was charged, the parties began negotiating the terms of a protective order. That's the government and the defense. During these negotiations, the government insisted over defense objection that certain videos obtained from victim 1 and depicting alleged quote-unquote freak-offs would not be electronically produced and would instead be only made available for in-person viewing while monitored by law enforcement. That is not uncommon. The government explained that victim 1, whose attorney gave these videos to the government, requested that they not be produced to protect her privacy and that the government would honor that request. That's not uncommon. It's not unusual. I'm sure the defense doesn't like it, but the defense is trying to make this seem like this never happens, and the court is going to sit there and be like, yeah, it does. This happens in cases like this and others. They go on to say the government explained that victim one, whose attorney gave these videos to the government, requested that they not be produced to protect her privacy and that the government would honor that request. To ensure we would receive discovery without further delay, the defense agreed to receive the discovery under those conditions while reserving the right in the proposed order to later seek modifications and designations from the court. This is what they're doing now. Modify. On October 7th, 2024, the court so ordered the proposed protective order, docket 26. I love that they've identified the docket numbers of everything. They're supposed to, per court rules. Not everybody does. It's incredibly helpful. If we're gonna find one compliment in all of this. They do write clearly. I don't always like what they're saying, but they do write clearly. Unicho in the chat said, who decides if it's going to be live TV or not? The court. This is federal court. Federal court says, miss me. So this is not going to be televised. Yeah, this is not going to be televised. This is going to be reported on by those in court. So we will see. After spending 4 weeks attempting to schedule viewing of the evidence, the defense was finally able to watch the videos under supervision of law enforcement on November 20th, 2024 and December 13th, 2024, footnote 2. The government also included for in-person inspection certain explicit videos victim 1 sent to Mr. Combs. Why are they putting that in the footnote? Or are we just being thorough on everything that was reviewed? The government redacted these videos from the copies of communications between victim 1 and Mr. Combs that were produced in discovery, even though such photographs do not fall within the scope of footnote 3 of the protective order. These photographs also appear to reflect these photographs also appear to reflect entirely consensual sexual activity. Well, that's not what the victim says. So, okay. The evidence consists of 9 videos depicting six unambiguously consensual sexual encounters, footnote 3. There are certain cases where it's hard for me to remind myself that the defense is doing their job and they're doing their job the way they want to do their job. This is one of those. This is one of those. Everyone has the right to a defense. Every defense attorney has the right to make the arguments they're going to make. It does not sit well with me. There are times where I am much better at putting prosecutor brain aside. There are types of cases where I am bad at that. These allegations are the types of cases that I am very bad at putting prosecutor brain aside. So you know where I'm coming from. They have the right to make the arguments they want to make. I have the right not to like it. But when we are dealing with cases of trafficking, sexual assault, I have a very hard time putting prosecutor brain aside. So it is why I largely did not prosecute these crimes, because I knew that it was difficult for me to get into the mind of the defense. In other cases, I am excellent at putting myself in the mind of the defense. I struggle with it in these cases very much. And I think for me, part of being a good prosecutor is knowing what cases you are going to be great at and knowing what cases are a no for you. Because when prosecutors are too emotionally invested in a case, you end up with, just for an easy example, Carrie Morrissey. Does Carrie Morrissey seem deeply invested in the Baldwin case to you? She seems deeply invested to me. And when you end up too deeply invested, you can lose objectivity, and that's a problem. So I did my best to take the cases where I wouldn't lose objectivity. It helped that a lot of my colleagues thought that the cases that I left were boring as fuck. It made it easy. Nobody was fighting me. They're like, we got a blackmail case. I'm like, give it. They're like, hey, this seems like it involves computers. Give it to me. Hey, there's a lot of bank records here. Yes, yes, yes. Give it to me. because I could. So just giving you my perspective on how I cover this, I try to cover everything as neutrally as possible. I very much struggle with these cases because in the cases I have dealt with that involve abuse and sexual assault, it is very hard for me to separate that out. And I very much empathize with the difficulty of victims coming forward. So I have a tremendous amount of empathy, and that's where I'm at. So are these the arguments that are made by defense attorneys in all of these criminal cases? Yes. This is the playbook of what defense attorneys say. This is the playbook of how this goes. And that's why I wanted to cover this case, because it's so, thank you, Lyndon. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's why I want to cover this case, because it is, I think, important to see what arguments are made, because when we ask questions, and the law is all about asking questions, they're not always easy questions to ask. We don't always like the questions we have to ask. Questions have to be asked. And when we ask those questions of cases like, okay, did this happen the way it's being said that it happened? Not in this case, in any case. Did this happen the way you're saying it? That's a question that has to be asked in every single case. And I think we can. But I think it's important to show the way that that gets asked in different types of cases. I think it's easier to ask those questions in like a Karen Reed case, right? You look at Karen Reed's case and you're like, did this happen the way that the prosecution said it happened? And a lot of people have a resounding answer on that. In that case, it's a bit easier to ask that question. When you are dealing with cases of sexual assault and abuse, it is harder to ask those questions. The prosecution asks those questions before they file the case. When they run down all of the evidence, when they interview victims, and they tell the victims, this is what you're going to face. Do I think in this case, victim one knew that? Yes. Do I think victim one knew exactly that this is what she was going to face in this case? Yes. When she filed her civil suit, she knew and was ready to say, I know what's happening and I'm going to move forward with this. Let's go. That I hope she has all of the support in the world, because this is what's happening. I think it is important to cover the way that those questions get asked by the defense, even when we don't like it. Because these are arguments I do not like. But these are the questions that will get asked, and the prosecution, good prosecutors, should and do sit down with victims and tell them, this is what is going to happen. And sometimes victims say, I'll spend the money on therapy, miss me with this. And they should never feel badly about that. Some do, some don't. But they shouldn't feel badly about that. Sometimes you will have victims walk out of the DA's office and be like, I am not willing to give any more of myself to this thing that happened to me, and I am done. So there would have been a lot of those conversations, knowing that this is what the defense is going to argue. And the defense has been arguing this since the bail hearing. Since the bail hearing, the defense has said this was a consenting adult relationship. And the prosecution has said, no, it's not. Katie did in the chat said, is victim one Cassie? Yes. The government is still referring to Cassie as victim one. We know from the allegations that victim one is Cassie because of Cassie's civil lawsuits. I try to continue to refer to victim one as victim one because that's how it is in the filings. But we do know that, and that has been pretty much confirmed. So if you struggle with all of this to stay objective, I get it. I get it. Julie Julie, hi. Julie's in the chat said, I don't blame victims for walking away. I don't either. And I think it's important to discuss, even when it's hard, even when it's enraging, even when it's frustrating. Because there are accusers where there is not, where that questioning process does not go well. And court is for cases that can be proved. There are plenty of cases that a prosecutor will look at and be like, I 100% believe this thing happened. I do not believe I can prove it in court. There are plenty of cases like that. The problem we run into, Emily, you've worn out that soapbox today. Sorry, chat. Where we run into trouble is where prosecutors lose that mechanism of, I think this happened. I don't think I can prove it. When you lose that mechanism and prosecutors are like, I think this happened, let me find a way to prove it, then we run into all kinds of fucking problems. That's not the job. Finding a way to prove it is not the job. So, let us continue. Lori in CT said, if you were a victim and knew you might have to face a Brennan-type questioner, I might not want my case at trial. And I understand it. It is difficult. And not only is it difficult, and I'm starring some of the conversation in the chat. Chat, you guys are having a beautiful conversation today. I love you. Not only is it difficult, but you are in front of jurors who are judging you, judging what you say, some who will be incredibly empathetic, some who won't. Oftentimes whose faces will give nothing, just stone-faced. A lot of jurors feel like that's how they should be, just neutral, that's appropriate. Sometimes you'll see jurors crying. It's rare, but sometimes you'll see jurors like literally with a tear as someone is talking, but it's rare. So you are in front of the jurors who are going to decide if they believe you. The person who did the thing sitting there, oftentimes mad dogging you. A defense attorney who's going to try to point out every inconsistency in everything ever, everything you've done in your life, ask you all kinds of horribly invasive questions. And sometimes those questions are going to come across with a whole lot of snark, sometimes not. Great defense attorneys question victims specifically and gently because it doesn't turn the jury off. It opens the door for doubt. That's what defense attorneys try to do, is open the door for doubt. Some defense attorneys go in like a fucking wrecking ball. The jury's just like, fuck you, miss me. So it just depends. And you guys have seen it too. For all of you that watched both the Depp Heard case with me and the last hearing with Dr. Russell, ask yourself, as we're thinking and talking about this, ask yourself how you felt about the cross-examination of Dr. Russell versus the cross-examination of Amber Heard. Just ask yourself, how do I feel about these two cross-examinations? And it can show you the difference of cross-examination tactics depending on how you're feeling about the testimony the person is giving. And when you as the viewer or the juror isn't on board with the story the witness is giving you, a strong cross-examination is a relief. And you're just like, finally. But when you are on board with what the witness is saying, a strong cross-examination comes across as rude, abrasive, overreaching, offensive. And it really depends on where you're at with the person that's testifying and how you feel about their testimony. And defense attorneys, and sometimes DAs too, depending on if they're cross-examining a defendant or whatever, which is a bit different. But defense attorneys have to figure out whether you're bringing a Camille Vasquez cross-examination, or whether you're going to piss off a jury with a Brennan-style cross-examination. And good defense attorneys walk that line well. And I think from the defense attorneys you guys follow here on YouTube, you see that. And they tell you about that. Natalie Lawyer Chick tells you about the different ways she cross-examines different people. So does Runkle. So does Bruce Rivers. The defense attorneys on YouTube talk about it. Lauren said, Emily, did you enjoy cross-examination? I don't know if there's anything in life I've ever enjoyed more. Because oftentimes as a DA, when you get to cross-examine the defendant, you're already at you did a thing. We're going to talk about it. Yes, I loved it. Cross-examination's the best. Heather said what a lot of you are saying. Camille was amazing. Brennan was so rude and annoying. Brennan's cross was not super different from Camille's cross. Who they were crossing and that individual's testimony was different. All right, let's continue. The quick bits on this is going to be amazing because we're going to get like all of the different things. I hate this next sentence. Emily, you've been avoiding finishing this. I've been avoiding it. Emily, be an adult. Finish this because you have an interview you need to go do. Just someone pointed out Brennan also wasn't in front of a jury. It's a good point. We'll see if he changes tactic when we get to trial. The defense goes on to say that they were finally able to watch the videos under supervision of law enforcement on November 20th and December 13th. Footnote. We already read the footnote. There were photographs. They say the photographs appear to reflect an entirely consensual encounter or activity. How you can gather that from a photograph? Sure, that's their argument. The evidence consists of 9 videos depicting, they say, 6 unambiguously consensual sexual encounters. Footnote 3, which is redacted. There is more that is redacted. They say, this is the defense words. In all 6 of these encounters, victim 1 is not only consenting, she is evidently happy, dominant, and completely in control. Those are the headlines that you are going to see about this filing. That is why that sentence is in there. The rest is redacted. They say there's no evidence of any violence, coercion, threats, or manipulation whatsoever. Well, when did the video turn on? There is no evidence that anyone is incapacitated or under the influence of drugs or excessive alcohol consumption. Oh, you're now a drug recognition expert, counsel, are you? You're a DRE? You know what people look like when they're under the influence? How long are these videos? Sure, counsel. Sure. They say there's no evidence anyone's incapacitated. Incapacitated and under the influence are different. They say, or under the influence of drugs or excessive alcohol consumption. Sure. There is certainly no evidence of sex trafficking. I don't know if you understand how that works. Okay. They're really with, they're going to just argue female empowerment, it seems. Okay, defense. Oh, good. Let's go to the law. Let's get away from these arguments and go to the law. Rule 16 requires electronic production of the videos, and there is no good cause to withhold production. They say Rule 16 specifically provides that, quote, the government must permit the defendant to inspect and to copy data. They inspected. And that is data that is within the government's possession, custody, or control, and that is material to preparing the defense. The court's going to read that and as an and/or. Thank you, Magdalena. They're going to read that as an and/or. They go on to say, as direct evidence undermining the core of the government's case, quote, freak-off activity is the core of the government's case. These videos are unquestionably material. I don't doubt it. these are material videos. They can still be under protective order. Both can happen. All right, into the law where things aren't as icky. Under Rule 16D, the party seeking a protective order, quote, has the burden of showing that good cause exists for issuance of that order. The court already found good cause. I think the court is going to continue to find good cause. The defense perspective, let's be generous. The defense perspective on what these videos show doesn't change that the court's already found good cause. They go on to say under Rule 16D, the party seeking a protective order has the burden of showing good cause exists for issuance of that order, and good cause remains the standard even where parties consent to a stipulated protective order. I think there's good cause here. A party can demonstrate good cause for the issuance of a protective order when a party shows that disclosure will result in clearly defined, specific, and serious injury, such as compromising the privacy interests of innocent third parties, causing a risk of harm to law enforcement or others, or impeding ongoing government investigations. They say the government cannot meet that burden. There is no good cause to prevent the electronic production of these highly exculpatory videos. Because this case does not identify classified information or videos of children, there is no authority to restrict defense counsel's possession, review, and analysis of the videos. And then they talk about the acts that restrict that in the case of CSAM. Moreover, any concerns regarding victims' one privacy interests are adequately protected by the remaining provisions of the protective order. There is no greater risk in granting defense counsel a copy of the files for the preparation of its defense under a suitable protective order than exists in the government's maintenance and use of the files in preparation of its own case. Oftentimes, the government doesn't have these either. They go on to say the government is free to designate the material as attorney possession only, which would require that the material be maintained in a safe and secure manner by defense counsel, shall not be possessed by the defendant. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be on the defendant's computer in custody. Shall not be possessed by the defendant except in the presence of defense counsel, and shall not be disclosed in any form except pursuant to the terms of the protective order. Indeed, the attorney possession only designation is for the precise purpose of addressing potential risk to the privacy or safety of victims or witnesses and sufficiently mitigates any risk of disclosure. Do you feel that it does? I got trust issues. I have concerns. They go on to say, even if there were some remaining privacy concern, any hypothetical risk that the videos would be disclosed in contravention to the court's protective order is substantially outweighed by the real and substantial risk that Mr. Combs' defense will be hampered by the limited access to the videos. You've seen what's on the videos. How much more do you need to see what's on the videos? They think more. They get to make that choice. Unless the protective order is modified to require the government to produce copies of the videos, the defense will not be able to effectively make use of this critical evidence at trial. The videos include audio recording, but much of it is inaudible on the device produced for inspection. And what is barely audible requires headphones to hear. On certain videos, the light is also very bad and the images are quite dark and grainy. Mr. Combs needs to use defense experts to enhance the quality of the audio and video and analyze the metadata associated with the videos, including when the videos were created or modified. The metadata is not a bad argument. The arguments up above, look, if you're questioning how much of this is written for the public versus the court, these are the arguments for the court. This is the real argument. The argument up above, the portraying of what they reviewed in the video, that's for the media. This is for the court. The court is hey, we need to inspect the metadata. However, Just like if the defense wants to stick with cars, if the defense wants to examine a vehicle in the possession of law enforcement, they can bring their expert to examine it. So if there's a forensic copy of the metadata, you could, I would imagine, provide the forensic copy of the metadata without providing the videos. So the government's going to fight this. On certain videos, the lighting's very bad. The images are dark and gray. So they want an expert to enhance the videos and evaluate the metadata. Those are the legal arguments. The government has also offered to use a neutral expert to enhance the audio and visual quality of the videos. So the government is saying, hey, we can have someone do this that's not hired by us, not hired by you. This novel proposal is inconsistent with Rule 16 and due process, as it would restrict Mr. Combs from retaining and directing experts of his choosing. Oh, I'm sure this has happened in cases. And require him to unfairly preview his defense. You mean you didn't tip your hand in this motion? This isn't the defense? It seems like this is the defense. We don't want to tip our hand. But you did. They go on to say it does not account for the other ways Mr. Combs seeks to put the evidence to use. I'm going to keep my thoughts to myself. For example, Mr. Combs may need to show the recordings to other experts or witnesses, consistent with the terms of the protective order. Other experts or witnesses. So here it gets to, we want to examine the metadata. We want to enhance the video. We want to enhance the audio. We want to show it to experts. We want to show it to witnesses. It's now growing. We want to do this. We want to do this. We want to do that. For example, oh, I read that. Mr. Combs will also need to extract portions of the videos to create trial exhibits, stills, and transcripts. All of these tasks will be impossible without obtaining copies of the video evidence. In some, quote, there is a much greater likelihood that the defense will be harmed in his ability to prepare a defense by limited access to the materials on the government's terms than there is that the materials will be further distributed by the defense in contravention to the defense order. Your Honor, we have a lot of work to do with these videos. We've told you the kind of work we want to do with the videos. You need to give them to us. The video constitutes exculpatory Brady material. I mean, the videos have been made available. And the restrictions on Combs' ability to use them in his trial preparation violate due process. So this is their second prong argument. We need the videos so we can do what we want with them. And what we want doesn't violate the protective order. Witnesses, experts, metadata, the rest. They say it requires the production. They go on to say in argument, and I'm skipping through the case law a bit because I'm going to start running up against a hard stop because I did not stop talking today. Or ever. They go on to say it's troubling that the government has had this evidence since December 2023 and nonetheless brought these charges. Oh, we're back to the government should never have brought these charges. It is troubling that the government has had this evidence since December 2023 and nevertheless brought these charges. They say the video refutes the claim that victim one was forced to participate and can only be squared with her account if one assumes, as the government apparently does. Oh, Jesus. They go on to say that certain women, quote, cannot consent despite all indications to the contrary. Well, they've alleged trafficking and coercion, which is part of trafficking. Like they say, see bail hearing at 15, arguing that when women are motivated by the loss of their livelihood and housing or experience abuse outside the freak-offs, they cannot consent, and that is sex trafficking. The government's view also depends on the characterization of the freak-offs as dirty, disgusting, and inherently unsavory, and therefore must have involved some amount of coercion. If they get to the government is kink shaming Diddy in this motion, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Because it feels like this is where we're going. They say, see indictment at 12A. We read 12A. The premise that the quote unquote freak offs are inherently dangerous, bail appeal hearing at 13, shows that the government seeks to police non-conforming sexual. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Keep reading, Emily. The government seeks to police non-conforming sexual activities, and that it assumes, despite all evidence to the contrary, that a woman's willing participation must have been coerced. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Your Honor, the government just has no imagination. This isn't trafficking. Okay. Everybody's like, narrator. Miguelina, no, I'll be okay. Narrator. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They go on to say, any fair-minded viewer of these videos will quickly conclude that the prosecution of Mr. Combs is both sexist and puritanical. Okay. Well, Your Honor, the government's too vanilla. Okay. It is sexist because the government's theory perpetuates stereotypes of female victimhood and a lack of agency. The prosecution reflects a paternalistic view that the government is here to protect women who cannot be trusted to make their own decisions about sex and are not capable of consenting to sex that the prosecutors view as outside the norm. I think they forget that the government's case is not based on just the videos, but also victims' statements, victim interviews, witness statements, witness interviews. Oh, and an entire fucking grand jury. But sure. Sexist, puritanical, and paternalistic. Yes, we are now at Diddy identifies as a feminist. Yep. Crystal King in the chat said, so now Diddy is a feminist. Diddy now identifies as a feminist. That's where we're at. Yep. They go on to say these videos depict clearly consensual sex among willing adults in a decades-long relationship and fundamentally undermine the government's case and victim one's claims. They go on to say that that is unquestionably Brady material, that they are certainly not ultra-sensitive materials that need to be subject to extreme restrictions. And they go on to say preventing Mr. Combs' defense team from obtaining copies of the videos so he can prepare his defense at trial would violate due process. They cite additional case law for that. They say even interest as strong as the state secrets privilege, which is not this case, a much greater interest than the purported interest here, must in certain cases give way to a criminal defendant's right to present a meaningful defense. They say because there is no good cause to restrict, that was my computer, not yours, because there is no good cause to restrict defense counsel's access to the videos and because the videos must be disclosed pursuant to Brady, we respectfully request that the protective order be modified to require the government to electronically produce the videos of Mr. Combs and victim one to Mr. Combs's counsel with the attorney possession only designation under the protective order. Let me check real quick and see if there was anything else on docket. Miguelina's screaming at me to her computer screen saying, don't do that. Because I do have to wrap up pretty quick because I do have a podcast interview to go to, and then I've got to get to the doctor. But I'll do a wrap up of this real quick. I just want to see if anything else hit the docket, because if it did, I will address it later today in the app. No, nothing. Wait. There is a amendment to that motion from Diddy. So I'll review that and update it, and we'll update it tomorrow because I will be back streaming tomorrow. So they have updated some of that. I'll go through this one and the updated motion to give you a breakdown of the differential between the two, because there was a update to that. So we'll go to the update of that. Rex88 said 2 streams today. I can't. I've got to go figure out if my foot's broken. Unfortunately, I cannot. But I will look at the 2. We will cover it tomorrow. This is why I'm so glad we stream 3 days a week, because we will have to get back into some of this tomorrow, because I answered a lot of questions and I had a lot of thoughts about this one. So we got into a lot of it today. Call Me Gary said, gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. Scott Family Adventures. I love my Scott's Essentials. I do have them. I have been putting them on my foot. The Scott's Essentials, I keep needing to share this on Instagram and in a link. So if you will email me at help@EmilyDBaker with a good link to share, I would love to do that, because it is fantastic and I love it. So yes, I do, and I will. For all of you that have wished me good luck with my foot and gifted memberships, thank you. I'm going to try to do a quick summary after we take 2 more questions. Madison said, I've been watching for years. You inspired me. Had my first interview to be a legal assistant today. Congratulations. You know the legal terms from here, and you can translate them from, legal talk to law talk in your brain. Harley Schmidt in the chat said, you inspired me to pursue lawsuits. Some good news, though. My beautiful cousin, who was murdered in 1978, I'm sorry, is finally about to have her case closed for good. Harley, congratulations on the pursuit of law school. There will be underlying purpose different than some others based on what you've experienced. And I am glad that the case is going to be closed, and that can be a memory and not an ongoing source of stress. So Harley, congratulations on law school. And you will meet others in law school that have deeply personal experiences with why they chose to pursue the law and the voice they want to give. Let's real quick do a summary of this. Well, Diddy's lawyers are definitely not slowing down on the allegations and the defense that this relationship with Diddy and Cassie, victim 1, was a consensual relationship. They say that the videos they've reviewed with police, which is not unusual in cases that deal with sensitive videos, they say that those videos have to be disclosed and given digitally to the defense because they want to show them to experts. They want to digitally enhance the audio and video. They want to examine the metadata, and they want to be able to use those videos to show to witnesses and experts. They argue that those videos undermine the government's case that there was sex trafficking here, and argue at some point that the government's case is sexist because it does not account for women having autonomy and agency. And they are saying, this is the defense argument, that the videos clearly show a consensual encounter and that it undermines what the victim has previously said. Those are the arguments the defense is going with at this point to try to get the protective order changed. Will this be heavily litigated? Yes. Is it uncommon in cases that deal with videos of an extremely sensitive nature that those videos are made available to review in the police custody and with police there? Yes, that is common. Will we see the court changing this? We'll see. Could the court require a forensic copy of the metadata to be sent to the defense and not the videos, the court could do that. The government also offered to have a neutral expert enhance the videos for sound and for to take away some of the dark and grainy that was complained about in the video. And the defense said, no, we are entitled to copies of this to use as we want to use to prepare our defense. And also the government is, they say, sexist, paternalistic, and Puritan, and they are punishing Diddy for having a private consensual sex life, they say, outside the norm. So yes, at the end of the day, they did say the government is kink shaming Diddy. That was in there. They say that the victim was consenting and that the entire government's case is based on videos that show the opposite of what's been charged here. That's not the entire government's case, but the government's going to have to argue that for themselves. And I imagine we will see a government filing soon, which means you need the Law & Order app so that you know when I am covering the government's response to what was a lot in this filing. It was quite a lot, and we will get there. So law nerds, I am going to the doctor today. I will update you on what happens to the foot. I am sorry we did not get to more thorough questioning. I did not anticipate how mad I was. Lee points out their relationship was so consensual that he beat the living crap out of her. And that's on video too. When she wanted to leave, he wouldn't allow her to leave. I'm looking forward to the government's response here. These arguments are not well taken by me. The argument that is well taken is that they want to examine the metadata. That is a well taken argument to me. We will see what the court does. We're going to have more of this tomorrow. We'll talk about TikTok more tomorrow. I love streaming 3 days a week. Sorry to cut this one short, Law Nerds. I will be with you tomorrow. Law Nerd app, I know you guys got your notifications today. Make sure you download it. I will be live tomorrow. If I need to delay the stream tomorrow due to whatever's going on with this, I'll let you know in the Law Nerd app and I'll let you know on YouTube. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a Law Nerd. We're going to have to do more of this tomorrow. I'm sorry that we're not done with Diddy, but damn, his lawyers are just doing the most, aren't they? All right, Law Nerds, I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you don't miss a live stream or any of the updates on the cases that you care about most with the Law Nerd app at lawnerdapp.com. It's a free download on iOS and Android so I can keep you in the loop because you never know when something's going to pop off. Thanks for being here and thanks for being a Law Nerd.